tuning back into Mad Dog Fishing. Down here, got my friend. He's been hooked up on a good bite. So anyway, guys, if you're new to the channel, we're all about surf fishing, as you can see, and of course we do inshore fishing as well. That's a good one. That's a good one. Anyway, today we're going to talk about tactics on wintertime fishing. And one of the big keys to wintertime fishing is scaling down everything. Your line, your hooks, and use the lightest weight you can get away with. If you got a rough surf, of course, you're going to have to go 3, 4, even 5 ounces. But the key is using, if I go with fluorocarbon this time of year, I usually have something messing with one of my rods right now. But when you're targeting these whiting or wintertime pompano, just scale down your equipment. You don't need great big hooks. I use a 1 or a 2 size hook, and that's all you need in 15-pound fluorocarbon leader, 20 backs. But and whiting is absolutely one of the best fish to eat this time of year. Now also this time of year, big black drum are running, and I'll show you some footage where I took some clients out, got him on some big black drum. We had some bad audio, so I'm gonna have to do a talk over. But overall, it was a successful day. We went back out a couple of days later, targeted whiting. We did really good. And the key to being successful is changing up your tactics for whatever you're fishing. Of course, when you're fishing for big black drum, of course you're gonna need heavier leader, 30, 40-pound leader you can get away with. They're not real picky. And you can use, I'd say, a 3/0 hook, use fish bites or fish gum. Either one of them will work very well. But anyway, we'll get back to you. I'll show you some of this footage where we got into those black drum, and then we'll look at some whiting. Oh, somebody get the net. Well, we had some audio problems here, so I'm having to do a voiceover. Y'all know I love doing voiceovers. I suck at it, but it is what it is. This is my client and friend. He has got hooked up on a big old black drum, and I tell you what, he's super excited about it. I think he's a little nervous, but yeah, he was. And the fish, I do believe, was foul. I mean, it was hooked in the jaw, but it was also wrapped around his fin. This fish, you'll see, ended up, excuse me, running him down the beach a pretty good ways. Now, I had to shorten up the clip because it took about 5-8 minutes to get this fish in, and it was a good one, as you'll see here in just a little bit. But we're gonna go through a couple of clips here where you'll get to see the fish he lands. It's a really nice fish, and but as nice as they are, these black drum get really big. I think the world's record's 119 pounds. So even a fish 20 to 40 pounds is, even though it's a good fish, you have to be up around 70, 80 pounds for it to truly be a trophy. Now, the biggest one I've ever caught may have been 50 pounds. Big bodied fish. They look like they weigh a lot more than they actually do. But anyway, he's having to hold up. I'm having to go down here and reel up some of the other rod and reels that are out so that he can move down the beach freely, because with this fish hooked around the fin, it ran kind of oddly down the beach, which is not normal for black drum. Normally, a black drum will have a couple of good surges, and then they just bulldog their way in the surf. They're not really running, but they're not giving up either, and it is challenging at times. And I tell you what, I love catching them. Wintertime, that's what I mainly focus on, is catching these big black drum. I don't eat them, but I absolutely love catching them. Now I'm headed out now to retrieve his fish, and one of the first things I do when I go out and get these fish, I'm looking for both hooks. I want to know where both hooks are. That way, if I pick this fish up and it starts thrashing around, I don't have to worry about getting hooked by a second hook. So that's important when you go out and grab these fish. Make sure you know if you're fishing with a double or triple dropper rig to know where those hooks are at all times. And we're just finna do, we'll get him to hold it. Sometimes trying to teach somebody how to hold these big fish is quite challenging, but he did a pretty good job right off the bat. And so he grabs it up, and we do a photo shoot. Get him some photos. And I believe this is the biggest fish he's ever caught. Now, from my understanding, he's caught some bigger freshwater fish and paddle tails, but I do believe this is the biggest saltwater fish caught with line and hook. If I had to guess, that fish probably weighed about maybe 20, 25 pounds. Maybe not that much. Like I said, they are a lot bigger than they weigh, but they make great photos. And this is another client and friend. He's hooked up on one just a few minutes later, and this is typically how black drum fight. They make a couple of good runs. They're fun. Now I cut this shit just clip short as well. Whoa! So I just got really interrupted on a phone call. Well, I'm trying to do a voiceover on my phone. How rude are those people? I don't even know who it was. But anyway, we had to cut these clips short because, I mean, the video would be 20 minutes long if you recorded the entire length of each fish being caught. But he made short work of this one. Now, this one's not quite as big as the other one, but still, they're fun to catch. Actually, the smaller ones are... They run a little bit harder than the big ones. The big ones, I think, just get lazy. And the littler ones, they still have a little spunk to them, a little energy. And we'll go out and get this one there again. And looking for those hooks. And try not to get my hand in its mouth. These fish, while they don't have teeth, they do have serrated teeth, but they have powerful jaws. And we're going to do, you know, get him set up where you can get a photo with it. Anyway, guys, wintertime is the time to come down and catch these big black drum. You can catch them in the bay. You can catch them in the surf at certain times. But let's move on to some whiting. And at the end of the, you know, we'll talk about tactics at the end. So there's your whiting. They get a little bit bigger than that, but that's what you want this time of year. They're good eating, good eating. We just use small hooks. See, these setups are pretty simple. Just about a number 6 to a number 2 hook. That's all you need. Piece of shrimp, and it'll do the trick for whiting. And a lot of times, guys, the bite is so subtle you don't even realize he's there. They're really a small panfish. And but let's get on back to the house, and I'll show you. Oh, getting the hit over here. Let's see if we can see if we got something over here. I'm telling you what, these. It's hard to tell. We got a lot of waves crashing, and the bite is just so subtle. No, I don't think we got one, baby. He was messing with me. Oh, I do got one. Take that back. Ain't much to him, though. And guys, the equipment I'm using, this is just a 7-foot rod. Oh, I'm ashamed to show you this one. They almost resemble a bonefish, but they're not. Now this is a really small one. We're going to let him go. But that's what it is. They're just small panfish, great eating. You can fry them whole or you can fillet them out. But let's get on back to the house, and I'll show you some of the equipment I'm using, some of the hooks, the things you need to scale down to catch these whiting, and then we'll talk about some of the stuff I use for the big black drum and redfish. So let's head over to the shop. Okay guys, this is third take on this video on this. We've made it to the house. This is my third take on this. I'm trying to keep it as short as possible. So we're going to jump right into it. We're going to talk about black drum first and the equipment I use for black drum. 30-pound mono will be sufficient. 3/0 hook. A lot of times I'll use a double dropper rig. I use Salty's Pompano rigs. He uses 30-pound mono with it, with a nice stout 3/0 hook. That will be great for targeting the big black drum. If you get the rigs from Walmart with the gold colored Kell hooks on it, they will bend and break if you don't work your drag. So your hook on those are your weak point. But Salty's rigs, you know, they're stout. You know, you can put a lot more pressure on them. As far as bait's concerned, as far as black drum, we use fish bites and fish gum, pink flavored, shrimp flavored. The pink colored seems to work the best. But I know we've caught them on other colors as well. I think they're just a forager. When they find a bait, they're going to eat it. You can catch them on sand fleas, crab, and things like that. Now let's talk about whiting. Whiting is something that a lot of people down here, a lot of locals go after in the wintertime when they're surf fishing. They come in schools, and you can get them, you know, 10-inch schools. You know, most of your fish are going to be 10 inches, and then they get on up in the 14 to 16-inch range. Now, as far as leader material, I use fluorocarbon when targeting whiting. 15-pound test is my preferred line size. I will go up to a size 20 if I have to use a heavier weight or my bigger rods, but I don't usually go any higher than 20-pound test fluorocarbon when targeting whiting. Now, as far as hooks, I use the number 2 octopus hook. You can use the silver ones. I prefer the colored ones because on my dropper rigs for whiting, I don't use any beads or any floats, so I'll use just a piece of shrimp and a colored hook, and it works well for me. A lot of people still use beads when targeting their whiting, and I've caught them with the beads. I just have more success with just a hook and some shrimp or fish bites or fish gum. As far as rod and reel selection, if you don't have to have a lot of weight out there, you can get by with a 7-foot inshore rod, which is what I love to use when targeting whiting. They got sensitive tips, and they can pick up the most subtle bites. When I have to use my bigger rods for the heavier weight, well, a lot of times it's hard to detect the bite because the rod is so stiff, but I have to have it to get big weight out there, you know, 4 or 5 ounces of weight to hold it on the bottom when conditions are rough or we have a strong rip current. But anyway, you just have to get out there and kind of feel, you know, see what the surf is doing. Whiting like clear water. They like clean water. I prefer an incoming tide, but it's not to say you can't catch them on an outgoing tide just as well. And I have caught them on an outgoing tide. And in the wintertime, you know, whatever's got the cleaner water in it, that's what I'm targeting. So guys, I hope that was helpful. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. It means a lot to the channel. And just want to thank you for your support for those that have already subscribed. And if you have any comments, leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll get to it as soon as I can and answer the questions as best as I can. Guys, thanks for watching Mad Dog Fishing, and we'll see you on the water.